She was just a street food seller, waking before dawn every morning just to feed her family. Nobody on the busy roads of Accra ever looked twice at her. She was invisible to the world of wealth and power. Then one morning, the youngest billionaire in all of Ghana knelt beside her small food cart on the roadside, and everything changed. His family called her a nobody. They said she was beneath them. They framed her, humiliated her, and tried to crush everything she had built with her own two hands. But they never imagined that the woman they mocked would become the only person capable of saving their entire empire. This is the unforgettable story of how kindness defeated power. By Hot Kelewele and Coco, fresh bofrot, come and eat. Every morning, long before the sun rose over the city of Accra, Zuri Okafor pushed her small wooden food cart to the corner of Oxford Street in Osu. While expensive Mercedes and Range Rovers rolled past without ever slowing down, the rich aroma of her golden kelewele, warm cocoa, and freshly fried bofrot drew office workers, security guards, market women, and taxi drivers to her stand. "Here is your food, Uncle. 5 cities. Thank you, and God bless you." She greeted every single customer with the same warm smile, even on days when she barely earned enough to pay for the ingredients, let alone her rent. What nobody knew was that Zuri carried far more than a tray of food on her shoulders. She carried the weight of caring for her widowed mother, who suffered from chronic arthritis, and paying the university fees of her younger brother, Kojo, who was studying engineering at KNUST. Every single cedi mattered. Every single sale was a battle between survival and surrender. Before we go further, tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That particular morning seemed like every other morning. The sky was still dark. The air was thick with the smell of exhaust fumes and wet earth from the night before. Zuri had just placed her first batch of kelewele on the hot grill when 3 black luxury SUVs stopped directly beside her cart. People on the street immediately turned to stare. Security officers in dark suits stepped out first, scanning the area with sharp eyes. Then, from the middle vehicle, a tall man emerged. He was dressed in a perfectly tailored navy blue suit that fit him like a second skin. His leather shoes gleamed. The watch on his wrist alone could have bought every single shop on the entire street. Without saying a word, he walked straight toward Zuri. The entire street fell silent. Even the taxi drivers stopped honking. The man stopped in front of her food cart, looked at her with eyes that held something between relief and admiration. And then he smiled. "I finally found you," he said. Before Zuri could even ask what he meant, the man dropped to one knee, right there on the dusty roadside, in front of her crowded food stand, and everyone watching gasped. Zuri stared at the man kneeling before her cart, completely convinced she had misunderstood what was happening. Customers whispered among themselves. People across the road pulled out their phones to record the unbelievable scene. The stranger slowly stood up and introduced himself. "My name is Kwame Asante." The name hit the crowd like a thunderclap. Everyone in Accra knew the Asante family. They owned banks, hotels, shipping companies, gold mines, and some of the most valuable real estate in all of Ghana. The Asante Group was a dynasty, and Kwame was its youngest chairman. Zuri shook her head nervously. "I think you have mistaken me for someone else." Kwame smiled gently. "I have spent 3 years searching for you, and today I finally found you." Before she could respond, his lawyer stepped forward with a sealed envelope. Inside was a photograph. It showed Zuri helping an injured young woman during a violent robbery years earlier. The image was blurry, taken from a distance, but Zuri recognized the moment instantly. She remembered that night. She remembered the blood. She remembered holding the trembling girl in her arms until the ambulance arrived. "I never forgot what you did," Kwame said. But this is not just about gratitude. His next words left the entire street speechless. "I want you to become my wife." For several seconds, nobody moved. Even the busy traffic seemed quieter than usual. The world had paused. Zuri looked from Kwame to the expensive cars surrounding them and then back to her small food cart with its scratched surface and smoking grill. This had to be some kind of joke, a cruel prank, a bet between rich friends. "This has to be some kind of joke," she said. Kwame's expression never changed. "It is not." She folded her arms across her chest. "Sir, people like you do not marry women like me." Some people in the crowd nodded in agreement. Others laughed uncomfortably. A few recorded everything on their phones. Kwame replied calmly, "I do not care what people expect." But Zuri did. She had spent her entire life watching wealthy people walk past street traders as if they did not exist. She had learned, through years of quiet suffering, never to dream beyond survival. Dreams were luxuries she could not afford. "I appreciate your kindness," she said, "but I cannot marry a man I do not know." Instead of looking disappointed, Kwame smiled. "I was hoping you would say that." He handed her a business card, thick, cream-colored, embossed with the Asante family crest in gold. "Take 1 week. Think about it. If your answer is still no, I will never bother you again." As he walked away, Zuri noticed something strange. His bodyguards were not watching him. They were watching her, protecting her, as if she already mattered. Inside the magnificent Asante family mansion in East Legon, dinner ended the moment Kwame made his announcement. "I am getting married next Saturday." His aunt, Mama Adwoa Asante, smiled warmly. "Wonderful. Naya has been waiting for this day for years." Kwame calmly shook his head. "I am not marrying Naya." Silence. The kind of silence that presses against your chest. "I am marrying Zuri Okafor." "Who is that?" Mama Adwoa asked, her smile frozen in place. "A street food seller." The crystal wine glass slipped from Naya Asante's hand and shattered across the marble floor. Red wine spread like blood across the white tablecloth. "What did you just say?" Naya's voice was barely a whisper. Kwame repeated himself without blinking. His uncle, Uncle Kofi, laughed, believing it was another one of Kwame's strange jokes. Nobody laughed after they realized he was completely serious. Naya stood so quickly that her chair crashed backward onto the floor. "You are embarrassing this family." Kwame remained perfectly calm. He looked directly into her eyes. "No, I am exposing this family." Nobody understood what he meant, but the anger spreading around the dining table like wildfire told Kwame one thing. The battle had officially begun. That same night, Naya gathered 3 members of the Asante family in her private sitting room. The doors were locked, the curtains were drawn. Nobody outside could hear a single word. "We cannot allow this marriage," Naya said, pacing the room. Mama Adwoa nodded immediately. "Our reputation will be destroyed, the Asante name reduced to a roadside hawker." Naya smiled coldly. "Then we destroy the girl first." She ordered a private investigator to learn everything about Zuri, her family, her debts, her friends, her past, her weaknesses. "There must be something we can use against her," Naya whispered. As everyone discussed ways to ruin the poor street food seller, Kwame sat alone in his study on the other side of the mansion. He opened an old newspaper clipping. The headline described the robbery from 3 years earlier. Below it was another photograph, one that no one else had ever seen. Unlike the image he had shown Zuri, this picture revealed something no one else knew. The young woman Zuri had rescued that night was not an ordinary victim. She was Kwame's younger sister, Amina, and she had been carrying a secret that could change the future of the entire Asante Empire. The following morning, Zuri tried to pretend nothing had happened. She arranged fresh kelewele on the tray, stirred the hot cocoa, and greeted her regular customers with her usual warm smile. But nothing was normal anymore. Every few minutes, someone whispered while pointing at her. "Are you not the woman that billionaire proposed to yesterday?" Videos of Kwame kneeling beside her food cart had spread across social media overnight. Some people congratulated her. Others accused her of trapping a rich man. Some called her a gold digger. Others called her lucky. Zuri ignored every single comment. She had customers to serve and bills to pay. The internet did not put food on her table. Just before noon, an elderly woman wearing a simple kente wrapper approached the cart. "I will have 2 bofrot, my daughter." Zuri smiled warmly. "You do not have to pay, Mama. You remind me of my late grandmother." The old woman studied Zuri's face carefully for a long moment. Then she smiled. "You have just made a decision that will change your life forever." Zuri laughed politely, believing the woman was simply being kind. She never realized that someone inside a nearby black SUV had recorded the entire exchange. Kwame watched the recording later that evening. His lawyer stood quietly beside him. "She gave away food she could barely afford to lose," the lawyer observed. Kwame nodded. "Just like she did 3 years ago." The lawyer hesitated. "Are you certain she is ready for what is coming?" Kwame looked toward the city skyline through the window. "No." "Then why involve her?" "Because the people trying to steal my family's company believe money reveals character. They are wrong." He remembered his grandfather's final words, spoken on his deathbed with a frail but unwavering voice. "If you ever want to know who deserves power, watch how they treat people when nobody is watching." Kwame was not searching for a wife because she was poor. He was searching for someone who could not be corrupted by wealth. And every quiet decision Zuri made was proving his grandfather right. Meanwhile, hidden inside the mansion, Naya received the investigator's first report. She read through it slowly, her lips curling into a dangerous smile. So that is her weakness. Her family. Her mother's medical bills. Her brother's school fees. The next afternoon, 3 officials from the local municipal council arrived beside Zuri's food cart. One carried a clipboard. Another pointed toward her cooking equipment. "We have received complaints about your operation." "What complaints?" Zuri asked, wiping her hands on her apron. "Operating without proper permits, health code violations." Zuri frowned. "I have renewed every permit. I have my certificates right here." The officer shrugged. "Not according to our records." Within minutes, they began confiscating her stove, her gas cylinder, her cooking utensils, even her small table. Customers protested. A taxi driver shouted at the officials. Nobody listened. As the officials drove away with everything Zuri owned, She stood silently on the roadside, fighting back tears that burned her eyes like fire. Across the street, inside a luxury SUV with tinted windows, Naya watched with deep satisfaction. "That was easier than I expected," she said. Her assistant smiled. "Without the business, she will reject Kwame." Naya shook her head slowly. "No, I want her desperate first. I want her to feel what it means to have nothing." She had no idea that another vehicle parked 2 streets away had also witnessed everything. Inside it sat Kwame. He made only one phone call. "Find out who ordered this." That evening, Zuri returned home carrying empty hands. Her mother, Mama Okafor, immediately noticed what had happened. She could read her daughter's face like a book. Zuri explained everything without mentioning Kwame. She did not want her family worrying about something that might never happen. Her younger brother, Kojo, slammed his fist against the wooden table. "This is not fair! Someone did this to you on purpose!" "No," Zuri replied gently. "But anger will not buy another stove." She opened the small savings tin hidden beneath her bed. After counting every single note, every coin, she smiled weakly. "There is not enough." Her mother quietly removed the gold wedding ring she had worn since her late husband's lifetime. She held it out with a trembling hand. "Sell this." Zuri immediately pushed it back. "No, Mama, that is all we have of Papa. We will keep it." Her mother looked deep into her daughter's eyes. "Where do you find this strength?" Zuri smiled through the tears that finally fell. "If I lose my kindness because life is difficult, then they have already defeated me." Outside the house, someone listened from the darkness, then quietly walked away. The following morning, every major television station in Ghana carried the same breaking news. Asante Group chairman to announce his fiancée at this weekend's charity gala. Business leaders, government officials, celebrities, foreign investors, everyone would attend. It was the social event of the year. Inside the Asante mansion, Naya could hardly contain her excitement. "Perfect. In front of the whole country, Kwame will realize that woman is an embarrassment." Mama Adwa smiled. "And if he refuses?" Naya's expression hardened like stone. "Then we will make sure she humiliates herself." Across the city, Kwame arrived outside Zuri's modest home in a simple car. No security guards, no luxury convoy, just a small gift box in his hand. When Zuri opened the door, he spoke quietly. "I know someone is trying to destroy your life." She stared at him in surprise. "But I am asking you to trust me." He handed her the invitation to the Asante family charity gala. "I want the whole world to meet my future wife." Zuri's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. She had no idea that accepting this invitation would ignite a war that would shake one of Ghana's wealthiest families to its very foundation. After Kwame left, Zuri stared at the elegant invitation for almost an hour. The venue alone was enough to frighten her. She had never stepped inside a 5-star hotel. She had never even eaten at a proper restaurant. Her world was the roadside. Her world was hot oil and wooden spoons and the smiles of hungry strangers. Her mother gently touched her shoulder. "If your heart tells you he is a good man, do not let fear answer for you." Zuri smiled weakly. "It is not him I am afraid of." She looked down at her faded sandals, cracked and worn. It is his world. The following day, Zuri entered a boutique simply to ask about renting a dress for the gala. The saleswoman looked her up and down, taking in her simple clothes, her worn shoes, her calloused hands, before laughing out loud. Our cheapest gown costs more than everything you are wearing combined. Several customers chuckled. One covered her mouth, another turned away. Zuri quietly thanked the woman and walked out. She refused to argue. She refused to cry. She simply walked away with her head held high. As she disappeared into the crowd, an elegant elderly woman who had witnessed everything from a velvet chair in the corner smiled thoughtfully. So that is how they treat her. The boutique manager suddenly received a phone call. His face instantly turned pale. That evening, a luxury delivery van stopped outside Zuri's small apartment. Neighbors rushed outside to see what was happening. Two assistants carefully carried in several garment boxes. Designer shoes, elegant handbags, jewelry, a custom-made evening gown in deep gold with delicate beadwork. There was no sender's name, only a handwritten note on thick cream paper. A queen should never doubt where she belongs. Zuri immediately assumed Kwame had sent them. She picked up her phone and called him. "I cannot accept this." Kwame sounded genuinely confused. "What gift?" She froze. "If it was not you, then who?" Both of them suddenly became silent. Someone else was watching. Someone who knew far more than either of them realized. Across the city, the same elderly woman smiled as another package was prepared. Her assistant looked at her curiously. "The child still does not know who has been protecting her," the woman said softly. "Before we go further, tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel." Preparations for the charity gala filled the Asante mansion with noise and tension. Naya supervised every detail, from the floral arrangements to the seating chart. Then she made one special request that made Mama Ajwa frown. "I want Zuri seated at the family table." "Why?" Mama Ajwa asked. "So everyone can watch her embarrass herself." The room erupted with laughter. Naya imagined the poor street food seller surrounded by billionaires, politicians, and foreign investors. She would not know which fork to use. She would not understand the conversations about stocks and acquisitions and foreign markets. She would become the night's entertainment, the punchline of a joke that the entire country would remember. Kwame overheard the discussion from the hallway. He said nothing. Instead, he quietly called his assistant. "Move our special guest to table 1. "The chairman's table?" his assistant asked, confused. "Yes." "Even above the board members?" Kwame smiled. "Especially above the board members." Meanwhile, Naya celebrated what she believed would be Zuri's most humiliating night. She had no idea she had just prepared the stage for her own downfall. 3 days before the gala, Kwame invited Zuri to lunch. Not at an expensive restaurant, at a quiet cultural center overlooking the ocean. "I thought billionaires only ate in luxury hotels," she joked. Kwame laughed. "My grandfather preferred roadside chop bars. He said the best food in Ghana is always found where the people are." For the first time, Zuri relaxed. Instead of discussing business, Kwame patiently taught her simple etiquette, how formal dinners worked, how charity galas were organized, who would attend, what to expect. She listened carefully. Whenever she made a mistake, Kwame simply smiled. "You do not need to become someone else." "I do not?" "No. I chose you because you are already enough." Those words stayed with her long after the lunch ended. Hidden nearby, a photographer secretly captured dozens of pictures. The next morning, gossip blogs exploded. "Billionaire dating street food seller. Accra's poorest woman catches its richest man." Inside the Asante mansion, Naya stared at the headlines. Her anger became something far more dangerous. It became hatred. Within hours, anonymous social media accounts began spreading shocking stories. They claimed Zuri had manipulated wealthy men before, that she had abandoned a child, that she was secretly married to a man in Kumasi, that she had been arrested for fraud. Every accusation was completely false, but people believed them anyway, because lies dressed in confidence always travel faster than truth dressed in patience. Customers stopped visiting her food stand. Some insulted her openly. Others crossed the road to avoid her. Her younger brother Kojo wanted to respond online. He wanted to fight back. Zuri gently stopped him. Lies travel fast. The truth walks. But the truth always arrives. Kwame's security team traced every fake account. All of them led back to one digital marketing company. The company had only one client, Naya Asante. Kwame's lawyer presented the findings eagerly. "We have her! We can expose her right now!" Kwame quietly closed the investigation file. "No." His lawyer looked surprised. "We are not exposing her?" "Not yet." Kwame shook his head slowly. "The bigger the lie becomes, the greater the truth will sound." Far away, Naya smiled confidently. She believed Zuri was finally breaking. She was completely wrong. The strongest woman in the story had not even discovered her true strength yet. That evening, Zuri sat alone outside her small apartment, staring at the empty street where her cart used to stand. For the first time in years, she questioned everything. Maybe Naya was right. Maybe people from different worlds were never meant to meet. Maybe saying yes to Kwame had been a mistake. Maybe she should have stayed invisible. Maybe invisible was safer. Her mother quietly joined her with 2 cups of hot tea. She sat down without saying a word and placed 1 cup in Zuri's hands. "You have been carrying everyone's burdens for years," her mother said softly. Zuri forced a smile. "I am just tired." Her mother gently squeezed her hand. "Never mistake exhaustion for defeat." Those words settled deep inside Zuri's heart, like a seed planted in fertile soil. At that exact moment, Kwame stood outside the apartment gate. He had come to check on her. He heard every word. Without interrupting them, he turned around and walked back to his car. His respect for Zuri grew even stronger. Inside another vehicle, parked farther away, Naya's investigator reported everything. "She is still refusing to break." Naya smiled coldly. "Then tomorrow, we will destroy what is left of her pride." 2 days before the charity gala, Zuri entered an upscale beauty salon in Osu. She simply wanted her hair neatly braided for the event. The receptionist barely looked up from her phone. "We are fully booked." Zuri nodded politely. "I can wait." Another woman entered moments later, dressed in expensive clothes. She was immediately welcomed inside with a warm smile and a glass of juice. Zuri frowned. "I thought you said you were fully booked." The receptionist interrupted without looking up. "We do not provide services for your type." Several customers laughed quietly. One whispered something to her friend. They both giggled. Zuri felt her face burn with embarrassment. But she stood up, smoothed her simple dress, and said, "Thank you." As she reached the door, the elderly woman she had met twice before walked in. She looked around the salon with sharp eyes. "Cancel every appointment," the woman said. The manager hurried over. Ma'am, please, let me explain. I own this building. The room fell deathly silent. And from this moment, this young lady receives whatever she wants. Zuri stared in disbelief. Before she could even say thank you, the mysterious woman had already walked away. Zuri finally caught up with the elderly stranger outside on the street. Please, why are you helping me? The woman turned around and smiled warmly. Because someone once helped my family when we had nothing. I do not understand. You will. She gently touched Zuri's shoulder. Kindness always returns. Before Zuri could ask another question, a chauffeur opened the door of a white Rolls-Royce. The elegant woman stepped inside. The vehicle disappeared into Akara's traffic. Zuri memorized one small detail, the family crest engraved on the car door. It was identical to the crest on Kwame's invitation. Back inside the Rolls-Royce, the woman smiled softly. Her assistant looked curious. Should we tell her who you really are? No, not yet. The child deserves to discover the truth when everyone else does. For the first time, the assistant understood. The mysterious woman was not watching the story unfold. She was quietly directing part of it. Inside the Asante family estate stood a private garden that almost nobody visited. Kwame sat there with the elderly woman. Grandmother, Nana Ya Asante smiled. You have chosen well, Kwame. Kwame looked relieved. So you approve? I approved 3 years ago. He laughed softly. I thought you might. Nana Ya's expression became serious. Your grandfather built this empire with honest hands. She looked toward the mansion. Some people inherited the wealth. They never inherited his values. Kwame remained silent. You know the board meeting is coming, she continued. Yes. They are expecting you to announce your successor. Kwame nodded. Nana Ya smiled. They think this marriage is about love. She paused. It is, but it is also the final test. Unbeknownst to both of them, someone hidden behind the hedges had heard part of the conversation. Only 2 words. The final test. Those words were enough to terrify Naya. The evening of the Asante Foundation Charity Gala finally arrived. Television cameras lined the entrance. Luxury vehicles stretched for hundreds of meters. Politicians, business moguls, celebrities, foreign diplomats. Everyone wanted to witness Kwame Asante introducing his mysterious fiancée. Inside a modest apartment across town, Zuri nervously looked at herself in the mirror. The elegant gold gown fit perfectly. Her hair was beautifully braided. She barely recognized the woman staring back at her. Her mother adjusted the necklace around her neck. You do not look rich. Zuri smiled. I do not. Her mother shook her head. You look confident. Outside, Kwame personally stepped out of his limousine to open the door for her. Hundreds of cameras flashed at once. Gasps echoed across the red carpet. Then came something nobody expected. Instead of walking into the gala first, Kwame extended his arm. After you, future Mrs. Asante. Every member of the Asante family watching from inside the ballroom froze, and Naya's smile disappeared completely. The ballroom fell into complete silence as Kwame escorted Zuri through the grand entrance. Crystal chandeliers illuminated the room, reflecting off marble floors and gold decorations. Hundreds of wealthy guests turned to stare. Whispers spread from table to table like wildfire. Is that really her? The street food seller? I thought it was a rumor. Zuri tightened her grip on Kwame's arm. She could feel hundreds of judging eyes studying every step she took, every breath she breathed. Kwame leaned closer. "Do not look at them," she whispered. "They are all staring." "They are staring because they expected someone else." He smiled. "Never apologize for surprising people." At the family table, Naya's face darkened. Mama Ajwa forced a polite smile for the cameras, but beneath the table, her hands trembled with rage. The evening had barely begun, and already nothing was going according to their plan. As dinner was served, Naya stood gracefully and raised her glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced with a charming smile that masked her venom. "Since Kwame's fiancé is joining such an important family, perhaps she would like to introduce herself." The microphone was handed to Zuri. The room waited. Every eye was on her. Every ear was tuned to her voice. Naya leaned back in her chair, already savoring the humiliation she expected. Zuri stood slowly. She held the microphone with steady hands despite the storm inside her chest. "My name is Zuri Okafor. I sell kelewele and cocoa on the streets of Osu, Accra." Soft laughter echoed across the ballroom. Naya smiled to herself. Zuri continued, her voice growing stronger with every word. "My mother taught me that honest work is never shameful. My late father taught me that dignity cannot be bought, and life has taught me that kindness is worth more than money." The laughter disappeared. Many guests nodded quietly. Even some executives applauded. One elderly businessman raised his glass. Naya's smile faded. Instead of embarrassing herself, Zuri had earned the respect of complete strangers. That was never supposed to happen. Kwame slowly stood beside Zuri. The ballroom became silent once again. "When I was asked why I chose Zuri," he paused, "everyone assumed I had lost my mind." A few uncomfortable laughs followed. Kwame ignored them. "I did not choose her because she is poor. I chose her because she is rich." Confused whispers spread across the room. Rich in integrity, rich in compassion, rich in courage. He looked directly toward his relatives. Money builds businesses, but character builds families. Several board members exchanged thoughtful glances. Nana Ya quietly smiled from across the ballroom. Kwame was not merely introducing his future wife. He was sending a message certain members of his family understood immediately. Naya felt something she had never expected. Fear. Because Kwame's speech sounded less like a marriage announcement and more like the opening statement of an investigation. Unable to control herself, Mama Ajwa stood abruptly. "Kwame, you cannot seriously expect this family to accept a woman who sells food on the roadside." The ballroom became painfully quiet. Everyone waited for Zuri's response. She slowly stood. "I understand your concern, ma'am." Mama Ajwa looked surprised that Zuri had not flinched. "I was not born into wealth. I do not own companies. I do not wear expensive clothes every day." She smiled gently. "But every meal I have ever sold was earned honestly. I have never stolen. I have never lied. And I have never looked down on another human being." The applause started from the back of the room. Then another table joined. Within seconds, nearly half the ballroom was clapping. Mama Ajwa slowly sat down. For the first time in years, someone had defeated her without raising their voice. Just as the applause ended, Kwame's personal lawyer entered the ballroom carrying a thick, sealed envelope. He walked directly to Nana Ya. She examined the seal carefully before handing it back. "Not tonight." The lawyer nodded respectfully. Naya secretly exhaled. Whatever was inside that envelope clearly mattered very much. As the lawyer turned to leave, Zuri noticed one small detail. The envelope carried the exact same family crest she had seen on the mysterious elderly woman's Rolls-Royce. Her heart skipped. Who exactly was that woman? Why did everyone seem to obey her? And why had Kwame looked relieved when she postponed opening the envelope? Across the ballroom, Nana Ya watched Zuri with quiet admiration. "The child notices everything," she whispered to her assistant. Kwame smiled. Just like grandfather hoped. Neither of them noticed Naya quietly sending a text message beneath the table. "Get me that envelope tonight." Long after the last guests had left the ballroom, the Asante mansion remained awake. Servants cleared tables while security escorted the final visitors outside. Hidden behind a marble pillar, Naya watched Kwame's lawyer place the sealed envelope inside a locked briefcase. She smiled. "This is our chance." Minutes later, the mansion experienced a brief power outage. Only 15 seconds, but it was enough. When the lights returned, the lawyer immediately checked the briefcase. The envelope was gone. Panic spread through the security team. Kwame remained surprisingly calm. His lawyer whispered nervously, "Sir, they have stolen it." Kwame simply asked one question. "Which envelope?" The lawyer looked confused. "The inheritance file." Kwame smiled faintly. "No, they stole the one I wanted them to steal." Somewhere inside the mansion, Naya celebrated. She believed she had just secured victory. She had actually walked straight into Kwame's first trap. Inside her private suite, Naya carefully opened the stolen envelope. Her hands trembled with excitement. "This changes everything." Mama Ajwa stood beside her. "Hurry." Naya pulled out the documents one by one. Financial reports, property lists, board resolutions, investment schedules. Nothing. No will, no succession letter, no marriage agreement. She searched the envelope again. Still nothing. What is this? Meanwhile, in another wing of the mansion, Kwame's lawyer could not stop apologizing. "I am sorry, sir." Kwame poured himself a glass of water. "They now believe they have won." "Exactly, but we lost the documents." Kwame smiled. "No, we lost the bait." Hidden inside the study safe was another envelope, smaller, older, carrying his grandfather's original wax seal. Only 3 people knew it existed: Kwame, Nana Ya, and the elderly family lawyer. The real game had only just begun. The following morning, Naya arrived at Asante Group headquarters overflowing with confidence. She entered the executive boardroom like someone who already owned the company. Board members greeted her warmly. Several assumed Kwame's strange engagement would soon be canceled. Then Kwame entered, calm and composed. Beside him walked Zuri. Several directors frowned. One whispered, "Why is she here?" Kwame answered before anyone could ask. "Miss Zuri Okafor will observe today's meeting." Naya laughed openly. A street food seller observing a billion SETI board meeting. A few executives smiled. Kwame remained calm. "My grandfather believed wisdom does not always wear expensive suits." Silence filled the room. Zuri quietly took her seat. She noticed every face, every whisper, every expression. Without realizing it, she was already seeing something the executives had completely missed. Someone at the table was lying. For 2 hours, the directors discussed expansion projects, investments, and succession plans. Most of it sounded like a foreign language to Zuri. Then, one executive proudly presented a proposal. It guarantees maximum profits within 18 months. Everyone nodded. Everyone except Zuri. She slowly raised her hand. The room looked amused. Kwame smiled. "Go ahead." She hesitated. "I do not understand business." Several directors smirked. "But if this project removes hundreds of street traders from their market spaces, where are those families supposed to earn a living?" The room fell silent. No one answered. One elderly director slowly removed his glasses and looked at Zuri with new eyes. "In 20 years, nobody has ever asked that question." Nana Ya, watching through the live boardroom feed, smiled proudly. "She is thinking exactly like your grandfather." Kwame simply nodded. Naya, however, saw something terrifying. The board was not laughing anymore. They were listening. That evening, Nana Ya invited Zuri to tea at the old family garden. For the first time, Zuri finally recognized her. You are the woman from the food cart, and the salon, and the boutique." Nana Ya laughed softly. "And several other places you did not even notice." Zuri looked completely confused. "Why were you following me?" Nana Ya reached into her handbag and removed an old photograph. It showed a much younger Nana Ya standing beside Kwame's late grandfather. Between them stood a little girl. Zuri's eyes widened. She knew that child. "I remember her. She was the girl from the robbery, the one I helped." Nana Ya nodded slowly. "You saved her life." Zuri smiled. "I only did what anyone would have done." Nana Ya gently shook her head. "No, most people walked away. You did not." Then Nana Ya revealed something that changed everything. The little girl you rescued was not only Kwame's sister, Amina. She was the future heir to the Asante family, controlling shares. Before Zuri could process those words, Nana Ya added another. And someone in this family tried to make sure she never survived that day. The garden suddenly felt much colder. A betrayal far older than Zuri had imagined was beginning to surface. Zuri could not sleep that night. Nana Ya's words echoed through her mind like a drum that would not stop beating. Someone in this family tried to make sure she never survived. It sounded impossible. It sounded like something from a nightmare. But the old woman's eyes had been filled with a pain so deep and so old that Zuri knew it was true. Kwame found her the next morning, standing alone in the mansion's garden, staring at nothing. "You have been thinking about yesterday." She nodded. "Was your sister's robbery really just a robbery?" Kwame looked away. For years, that is what everyone believed. He slowly handed her an old newspaper clipping. The headline read, "Businessman's daughter escapes armed robbery in Akara." "It was not random," Kwame said quietly. "The police never found the people responsible, but grandfather always believed someone paid them." Zuri looked shocked. "Inside the family?" Kwame did not answer. His silence was answer enough. From an upstairs balcony, Naya watched them together. She immediately called someone. "Move the documents. They are getting too close." Across Accra, inside an old apartment in Nima, a retired security guard stared at the television. Kwame and Zuri's engagement was the headline on every news channel. His hands began shaking. He recognized Zuri immediately. "So she survived too," he whispered. He opened an old metal box hidden beneath his bed. Inside were photographs, old payment receipts, a broken wristwatch, and a small flash drive. For years, he had promised himself never to touch any of it. "Until now," he whispered. "I have been hiding long enough." Just then, someone knocked on his door. 3 slow knocks. He froze. Nobody knew where he lived. Another knock, louder this time. The old man quietly hid the flash drive inside his jacket. If the wrong person had found him first, the truth would disappear forever. The next day, Kwame announced something unexpected at the board meeting. Zuri will oversee the Asante Foundation's community feeding program. The room erupted. Naya immediately objected. She has absolutely no experience running a foundation. Kwame smiled. Actually, she has more experience feeding hungry people than anyone in this room. Several directors laughed. Not at Zuri, at Naya. Within a week, Zuri completely reorganized the foundation's food distribution. Instead of wasting money on expensive ceremonies and publicity stunts, she redirected the budget toward local markets and struggling families. The number of meals doubled. Operating costs dropped by 40%. News channels praised the initiative. For the first time in years, Asante Group received positive headlines instead of corporate criticism. Nana Ya quietly read the newspaper and smiled. Character always reveals competence. Naya crushed the newspaper in her hands. Zuri was not supposed to succeed. She was supposed to fail. Public humiliation had not worked. Lies had not worked. Now it was time for something bigger. Late that night, confidential company funds were secretly transferred into a bank account opened under Zuri Okafor's name. By morning, internal auditors were in chaos. Millions of cedis have disappeared. The account holder is Zuri Okafor. Security officers entered Kwame's office. Sir, we have evidence. Kwame calmly looked through the documents. Everything appeared genuine. Bank records, transfer confirmations, electronic signatures, even Zuri's identification. Naya almost smiled. This time, there was no way Zuri could explain herself. Kwame slowly closed the file. Bring her here. The executive boardroom filled within minutes. Every director had received the same message. Emergency meeting, possible fraud investigation. Zuri entered completely unaware of the allegations. She immediately noticed the atmosphere. Nobody smiled, nobody greeted her. The air was thick with suspicion. Kwame placed the file on the table. Zuri, do you recognize this bank account? She looked carefully at the documents. No. Naya stood dramatically. She is lying. She pointed toward the financial records. Her name is on every document. Her signature is on every transfer. Whispers filled the room. Some directors looked disappointed. Others looked satisfied. Zuri slowly lifted her head. I have never seen these papers before in my life. Naya laughed. They have already been verified by 3 independent auditors. Just then, the boardroom doors opened. Kwame's head of cybersecurity walked inside carrying a laptop. I am sorry for interrupting, but we have discovered something everyone needs to see. Naya's confident smile vanished for the first time that day. The cybersecurity director connected his laptop to the boardroom screen. I traced every login used to authorize the transfer. Naya folded her arms confidently. This is a waste of time. The screen lit up. A security recording appeared. One by one, the executives leaned forward. The footage showed someone entering the finance office at 1:47 a.m. The person wore a hood, gloves, and a face mask. Naya smiled. They are hiding their identity. This proves nothing. The technician calmly replied, Not for long. He zoomed in. The masked figure removed one glove for just 2 seconds to unlock a biometric scanner. A distinctive diamond ring flashed across the screen. Every eye slowly turned toward Naya. She instinctively hid her hand beneath the table. Kwame remained expressionless. No conclusions yet. The technician continued. We enhanced another camera angle. A second image appeared. This time, the masked figure's face became visible. The room erupted. It was not Zuri. But it was not Naya either. Someone else inside the Asante family had done the impossible. The image froze. It was Mama Adwoa's personal secretary, the woman who had worked for the family for 18 years. She immediately collapsed into tears. I did not steal anything, Kwame calmly asked. Then why were you in the finance office after midnight? She looked toward Mama Adwoa, then quickly looked away. She choked on her words. Naya interrupted. She is obviously guilty. But Nana Ya quietly spoke for the first time. No, she is frightened. The secretary burst into tears. They threatened my son. They said if I did not plant the documents, I would never see him again. The room fell silent. They said if I did not open the account and transfer the money, they would take my boy. Kwame's eyes hardened. Who threatened you? The woman slowly raised her trembling hand. She pointed towards someone in the room. Every executive turned. Naya's breathing stopped. But the secretary's finger moved past Naya. It settled on Mama Adwoa. Mama Adwoa shot to her feet. "She is lying. I have treated that woman like family for 18 years. The secretary shook uncontrollably.
You promised my son would be safe. You promised nobody would ever know."
Mama Adwoa's face turned pale as ash. Nanaya stood. "Sit down." The authority in her voice silenced the entire boardroom. She slowly walked toward Mama Adwoa. "I warned you years ago. You confused family wealth with personal ownership." Mama Adwoa tried to defend herself. "I was protecting this company." Nanaya looked disappointed. "No, you were protecting your pride." Kwame quietly dismissed the meeting. Nobody leaves Akara. Nobody deletes a single file. Every financial record will be audited. Naya watched everything collapse around her. For the first time in her life, she realized her aunt might actually fail. And if Mama Adwoa fell, she would fall with her. Across the city, the retired security guard finally contacted Kwame's lawyer. They met inside a quiet church after evening service. The old man placed a worn flash drive on the table. "I have protected this for 3 years." The lawyer frowned. "What is it?" "The truth." He swallowed hard. "The robbery was not random. I drove the getaway vehicle." The lawyer froze. "I did not know they planned to hurt the little girl. I only needed money. I was desperate." He buried his face in his hands. "I have lived with that guilt every single day." The lawyer carefully picked up the flash drive. "What is on it?" "Phone recordings, payment records, and the name of the person who ordered everything." Before he could say another word, gunshots echoed outside the church. Glass shattered. The old man's eyes widened. "They found me." Kwame received the phone call just before midnight. "There was an attack. Is he alive?" "Barely." Kwame immediately drove to the hospital. The retired guard had survived, but he was unconscious, connected to machines that beeped his fragile grip on life. His lawyer handed Kwame the flash drive. "It is all here." Kwame stared at it for several seconds. "This ends everything." Nanaya slowly entered the hospital room. "No, it begins everything." She looked directly at Kwame. "The annual shareholders' assembly is in 5 days. Every family member, every board director, every major investor. They will all be there." Kwame nodded. Nanaya smiled. "Good. That is where the truth belongs." Far away, Naya received alarming news. "The flash drive still exists." She stood in silence, then whispered 5 words that chilled everyone in the room. "Then Kwame must never arrive." The war was no longer about reputation. It had become a fight over survival. 2 days before the shareholders' assembly, Kwame left the hospital with his lawyer and the flash drive locked inside a steel briefcase. 3 black SUVs escorted them through Akara. The streets appeared normal until traffic suddenly stopped. A fuel tanker blocked the expressway. Kwame frowned. That is not an accident. Before anyone could react, 2 motorcycles sped toward the convoy. Masked men smashed the windows of the last security vehicle. Chaos erupted. Kwame's bodyguards immediately formed a protective shield. "Protect the briefcase!" Within seconds, the attackers realized they could not reach Kwame. They escaped into the traffic. 1 bodyguard lay injured. The briefcase remained untouched. Kwame quietly looked out the window. "They are becoming desperate." His lawyer nodded. "They know what is on that flash drive." Kwame corrected him. "No, they know what is about to happen when everyone sees it." That evening, Naya requested a private meeting with Zuri. Against Kwame's advice, Zuri agreed. They met inside a quiet cafe overlooking the ocean. Naya placed a thick envelope on the table. Inside were bank documents and a check worth 50 million cedis. "I will make this simple. Leave Kwame. Disappear. This money is yours." Zuri looked at the check, then quietly closed the envelope. "You think I am here for money?" Naya smiled. "Everyone has a price." Zuri slowly stood. "My mother sells vegetables in the market. My father died owing debts. I have lived with hunger. If money could buy my character, life would have bought it years ago." She gently pushed the envelope back. "You have mistaken poverty for greed." Naya watched her leave through the cafe window. For the first time, she understood why Kwame had chosen Zuri. And that realization terrified her more than anything else. Later that night, Nana Ya invited Zuri into the old family library. She unlocked a wooden cabinet that had remained sealed for years. "Inside rests a handwritten letter," Nana Ya said softly. "The last letter your grandfather wrote?" Zuri asked. Nana Ya smiled. "My husband's." She carefully unfolded the aged paper. The handwriting was elegant but shaky, the words of a man who knew his time was short. "My family will one day become wealthy beyond imagination. But wealth will attract people who love money more than people. If my grandchildren ever forget that, choose the one who serves others before themselves." Zuri looked up. "This letter?" Nana Ya nodded. "It has never been shown to the board. It was written before he died." She gently folded it again. "Tomorrow, everyone will finally hear his true wishes." Outside the library, someone secretly photographed the entire meeting. The image was immediately sent to Naya. Naya realized time was running out. If the letter and the flash drive were revealed together, everything would end. She gathered the remaining loyal members of the family. "We have one chance." Late that night, the mansion's fire alarm suddenly activated. Servants rushed outside. Security teams evacuated the building. Smoke filled one corridor. During the confusion, a masked figure slipped into Nana Ya's private study. The old cabinet stood open. The letter was gone. Minutes later, firefighters discovered there had never been a real fire. Only smoke released through the ventilation system. Nana Ya calmly examined the empty cabinet. Kwame looked devastated. "They took it." Nana Ya smiled. "No, they took the copy." Kwame stared at her. "You made another one?" She laughed softly. "My husband spent 40 years building this family. You think he left only one copy of his final letter?" For the second time, Naya celebrated far too early. The morning of the shareholders' assembly finally arrived. News reporters crowded outside Asante Group headquarters. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Foreign investors, board members, government officials, major shareholders. Everyone knew something extraordinary was about to happen. Inside the main auditorium, Nana Ya walked slowly to the front row. Kwame sat beside her. Zuri quietly took her seat beside him. Naya entered moments later, wearing a confident smile she no longer truly felt. She looked around. The flash drive was not visible. Neither was the original letter. Maybe, just maybe, she still had a chance. Kwame stood and approached the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we will discuss the future of the Asante Group." He paused. "But before that, there are truths this family has hidden for far too long." The massive auditorium became completely silent. In the back row, an unfamiliar man wearing dark glasses quietly stood up. Nana Ya's expression suddenly changed. She recognized him immediately. He was not a shareholder. He was not an investor. He was one of the men believed to have died after the robbery 3 years earlier. And he had just walked into the room. The entire auditorium watched as the man in dark glasses slowly walked toward the front. Security immediately moved to stop him. "Let him through," Nana Ya ordered. The room fell silent. Naya stared at the stranger. Her face slowly lost its color. "No, it cannot be." Kwame narrowed his eyes. "I know you." The man removed his glasses. A long scar stretched across his left cheek. "My name is Kofi Mensah. I was the driver hired for the robbery 3 years ago." Gasps echoed throughout the hall. "I was supposed to die after the job, but I survived." He looked directly at Naya. "You paid us." Naya immediately stood. "That is a lie!" Kofi slowly reached into his jacket. "I knew you would say that." He placed a small digital recorder on the podium. "And that is why I brought this." Kwame picked up the recorder. "Should we play it?" Kofi nodded. "I have carried this burden for 3 years." The room became deathly quiet. Kwame pressed the play button. A woman's voice filled the auditorium. "The child must disappear." Several shareholders looked confused. Then another voice answered. "What about the driver?" The woman's cold reply made everyone's blood run cold. "Remove him, too." The recording ended. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Naya slowly turned toward Mama Adwoa. You told me, Naya whispered. Mama Adwoa whispered back. I destroyed every copy. Nana Ya closed her eyes. So it was true. Kwame looked toward Kofi. Who made that recording? Kofi answered without hesitation. I did. I knew one day I would need proof. Naya's breathing became heavier. The walls were beginning to close around her. But Kwame still had not revealed the most important evidence. Kwame walked back to the podium. He held up the small flash drive. For years, my family searched for the people responsible, but we were looking in the wrong direction. The giant screen behind him lit up. Bank transfers, phone records, private messages, security footage. Every piece of evidence connected perfectly. Then the final document appeared. A wire transfer, the sender's company, the authorization signature. Every eye in the room turned toward Mama Adwoa. She stood frozen. I can explain. Nana Ya quietly replied. No. You have been explaining for 3 years. Now it is time to tell the truth. Tears filled Mama Adwoa's eyes. Naya slowly backed away. If Mama Adwoa confessed, everything would lead to her. She quietly reached into her handbag. Nobody noticed except Zuri. Zuri saw Naya remove a small mobile phone. She was not making a call. She was deleting something. Zuri immediately whispered to Kwame, Stop her. Kwame turned instantly. Security! Naya tried to run. 2 officers blocked the exit. She desperately pressed the phone again. Too late. The cybersecurity director calmly smiled. It will not help. Naya froze. What? We mirrored your device 24 hours ago. Every message, every payment, every deleted file, already copied. Naya's shoulders dropped. For the first time, she realized there was nowhere left to hide. Nana Ya slowly stood. There was one question remaining. She looked directly at Mama Adwoa. Why? The old woman closed her eyes. When she finally spoke, the entire Asante family wished she had not. I was never protecting the company. Mama Adwoa's voice trembled. I was protecting Naya. Silence. When my brother died, Naya believed the company should belong to us. So when Nana Ya announced that little Abena would one day inherit the controlling shares, Naya refused to accept it. Naya burst into tears. I was only 21. You told me it was the only way. Nana Ya stared at her in disbelief. So you planned to murder a child for an inheritance? Neither woman answered. They did not have to. Their silence became their confession. Kwame slowly reached into his jacket, then placed one final document on the podium. His grandfather's original succession letter. I hereby appoint the next guardian of the Asante legacy. The auditorium leaned forward. Every camera focused on the document. Kwame unfolded the final page, then smiled. My grandfather's choice was never based on blood. The next sentence would change every life inside the auditorium forever. Kwame carefully unfolded the final page. Every camera in the auditorium focused on him. Not a single person moved. My grandfather wrote this 11 years ago, Kwame said. He understood something most people never do. He knew that wealth can be inherited, but character cannot. He cleared his throat and began reading. The next guardian of the Asante legacy shall never be chosen because of bloodline, education, or wealth. The future guardian must prove through their own life that they value people above profit. Kwame slowly lowered the paper. My grandfather never named a person. Naya looked confused. Nana Ya smiled. He described one. Kwame turned toward Zuri. The person who fulfilled every condition is standing beside me. The auditorium exploded. One elderly shareholder slowly rose to his feet. I knew your grandfather for 40 years. He always believed character was the greatest investment. Another stood. So did I. One after another, board members began standing. Then came the applause. Not for Kwame, for Zuri. Tears filled Zuri's eyes. I do not understand. Kwame gently held her hand. You were never being tested to become trusted. You were being tested because you already were. This is ridiculous. She sells food on the roadside. Nana Ya calmly answered, and she fed hungry people before she ever met this family. The chairman of the board stood. I call for an immediate shareholders' vote. Electronic voting devices lit up across the auditorium. Every shareholder cast their decision. The results appeared on the giant screen. 97% approved. Mama Ajwa slowly lowered her head. The woman who had controlled family decisions for years suddenly looked very small. Naya burst into tears. "No, this is not fair." Nana Ya looked directly at her. "Fair? You tried to murder a child. You framed an innocent woman. You stole from your own family. And today you speak about fairness?" No one defended them. Not one relative, not one executive, not one shareholder. The silence hurt more than any punishment. Kwame addressed the legal team. Within minutes, official removal documents were placed before Mama Ajwa and Naya. Every directorship, every executive privilege, every voting right, gone. Years of power disappeared in less than 5 minutes. The women who once ruled the Asante family walked out with nothing. As the disgraced family members reached the auditorium doors, uniformed police officers entered. The lead investigator approached Kwame. "We have completed our investigation." He turned toward Mama Ajwa and Naya. "You are both under arrest." Naya collapsed. "Please, I never wanted anyone to die." Kofi quietly replied, "But you were willing to let it happen." Handcuffs clicked shut. Television cameras captured every second. Reporters rushed outside. Breaking news alerts spread across Ghana. Asante family scandal exposed. Billionaire family members arrested. Zuri watched silently. Kwame noticed. "You do not look happy." She shook her head. "I never wanted this." Kwame smiled gently. "I know. That is exactly why you deserved to win." The police vehicles slowly drove away. The chapter of deception had finally ended. Another chapter was just beginning. 1 week later, without informing the media, Kwame drove Zuri back to the same roadside where they had first met. Her old food cart had been carefully restored. The familiar smell of fresh kelewele filled the morning air. Zuri laughed. "You rebuilt it." Kwame nodded. "I wanted to remind you of something." She looked at him curiously. "This cart never embarrassed me. It introduced me to the woman I want to spend my life with." Soon, office workers began arriving. Many recognized Zuri immediately. Instead of mocking her, they applauded. Some thanked her for inspiring them. Others simply smiled. The place where she had once been ignored had become a place of honor. Kwame quietly whispered, "You changed the street." Zuri smiled. "No, we changed it." Just then, Nana Ya arrived, carrying one final envelope. "This one," she said softly, "belongs only to you." Nana Ya gently placed the cream-colored envelope into Zuri's hands. "This is not from me. It is from my husband." Zuri looked confused. "But he passed away years ago." Nana Ya smiled. "He knew one day someone like you would arrive." With trembling fingers, Zuri opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter and a small brass key. She began reading. "To the woman who chooses people before power. If this letter has reached you, then my family has finally found its true guardian. Never allow wealth to harden your heart. Never allow power to silence your compassion. And never forget the streets that shaped your character." Zuri could not hold back her tears. The old man had never met her, yet somehow it felt as though he had known her all along. Nana Ya quietly whispered, "He spent years praying someone exactly like you would appear." 3 months later, Asante Foundation headquarters looked completely different. There were no extravagant parties, no unnecessary luxury, no expensive ceremonies. Instead, thousands of street food vendors across Accra received interest-free business grants. Single mothers were given startup equipment. Young entrepreneurs attended free business classes. Kwame watched proudly from his office window. His assistant smiled. "Profits have actually increased." Kwame laughed. "I knew they would. When people stop chasing money, money starts following purpose." Inside the foundation hall, Zuri personally welcomed every applicant. Many could not believe the elegant woman greeting them was the same street food seller they had once walked past without noticing. She never mentioned her success. She simply smiled and asked one question. "How can we help you grow?" That question became the new culture of the Asante group. One quiet afternoon, the gates of the Asante estate opened. A thin, exhausted woman stepped inside. Naya. She had been released on bail while awaiting trial. She no longer wore designer clothes, no jewelry, no makeup, only regret. Nana Ya allowed her into the garden. Zuri was already there. Naya lowered her head. I do not deserve forgiveness. No, Zuri replied honestly. You do not. Naya closed her eyes. I destroyed innocent lives because I believed money could replace love. Silence hung between them like a heavy curtain. Then Zuri quietly said, but carrying hatred will only create another Naya. She extended her hand. I forgive you. Naya burst into tears. It was not a restoration of friendship. Some wounds run too deep for that. But it was the beginning of something far more powerful. Freedom. 6 months later, the same people who had mocked Zuri gathered once again. This time, not for a charity gala, for a wedding. The ceremony was held in a beautiful garden overlooking the ocean. Street food vendors stood beside billionaires. Taxi drivers laughed with company executives. Market women shared tables with foreign investors. No section was reserved for the wealthy. Everyone ate together. When the pastor asked Kwame why he loved Zuri, he smiled. Because she reminded me that greatness is not measured by what you own. It is measured by what you give. When Zuri was asked the same question, she looked at Kwame. He saw my value before the world saw my appearance. The applause lasted several minutes. Even seasoned journalists admitted they had never witnessed a wedding quite like it. 1 year later, business magazines no longer described Zuri as the billionaire's wife. Instead, they called her the woman who changed the Asante Empire. Under her leadership, the foundation had expanded across Ghana. Thousands of families had escaped poverty. Thousands of small businesses had flourished. One morning, Zuri quietly returned to the exact corner where her old food cart had once stood. She smiled as new young vendors served breakfast to busy workers. Kwame joined her. Do you miss it? She looked at the lively street. I never left it. She pointed toward the vendors. They are my family too. Kwame gently held her hand. Across the road, Nana Ya watched them with tears of joy. Her late husband's greatest dream had finally come true. The Asante family had not been saved by the richest person. It had been saved by the kindest one.